Hi, my name is Craig Heidi, and I'm going to review a case study with you. Who should create a school's vision for EDL 852? Let's start with just a summary of the case facts. The Lightville community, which is about 10 minutes outside of a major community, has been just growing and bursting at the seams by 2% per year. Lots of new families are coming in because the schools are attractive to them, as well as it's a close commute. There's low land costs as well. And so with this, because of this influx of families and children, the schools are stressed, and so they're having to construct a new middle school. And it was despite a close community vote, they decided to do this. So a new school is going to be built for 6th to 8th grade with 450, that's for 450 students. 12 months beforehand, they've hired Principal Potter, Susan Potter, to facilitate this opening process in this year. Part of this, she has various objectives that she has to do, but she decides that she needs to have an advisory committee to help her learn about the community and to help this committee help her in creating a vision and mission statement for the school and a philosophy for how the school should be run. Being from a suburban area, she is unsure about the rural community, is not familiar with Lightville, and would just like to have this input in creating this. So because of this, she does not want to be the chair. Symbolically, she wants to be just part of the committee so that she can have a say and be a part of the process and learn, and yet have someone else lead in that chair position. So they've asked Helen Burke, who is the English teacher at the middle school there, to be the chair, and she's accepted only if Miss Potter will help her along with that process. Unfortunately, what has happened is Miss Potter would like the whole advisory committee to come up with the vision and philosophy statements and kind of go through this process. However, Miss Burke believes that Miss Potter is the expert and should come up with it herself. And so they brought this before the advisory committee. The advisory committee had voted that Miss Potter should create this on her own, the philosophy and vision statement, and most likely that they would just rubber stamp that to go on to the superintendent and school board. So because of this, there are some dilemmas that have kind of set forth. Is that, first of all, Ms. Potter ethically leading away counter to her leadership style. She believes that all stakeholders should have a say, and this should be a collective opinion and voice from this committee. And if she does it on her own, that's not going to be the case. She feels like there's also an ethical dilemma that the community is losing a voice in the creation of this. I could see that it could also reinforce lack of buy-in by the community, and it could create divides between Miss Potter and the community for sure, because it may not be in line with some of those community values. And of course, the other ethical dilemma too is that you have this new principal who's creating the vision for the next 5 to 10 years, and yet as transient as this population is anymore, not just this population, but in the United States, this principle may not be around in 5 or 10 years. And so there's an ethical dilemma without having additional people there. There wasn't really any illegal activity by the board as far as legal issues. However, the advisory board is something extra that Ms. Potter has put on for this first year that is not included in her 3 objectives. So what's the gist? The board has tasked Principal Potter with creating this vision and philosophy statement on her own, despite her desires for the committee and the community to be a part of that process. So who are the people? There are 1,200 students in this district now. Most teachers are experienced from this system, and so Ms. Potter hasn't had to hire, she had to hire 4 new people. So most of these teachers have taught in this district before. This advisory committee, we have 4 parents and also 4 teachers on this committee. The superintendents and school board are also stakeholders in this arena, and then there's also Principal Potter on that committee. The place, as you know, as I talked about, it's a rural community about 10 minutes outside of a town. 2 miles outside of Lightville, though, is where the schools are located. It's on a 65-acre plot, as well as there's low land costs, there's this influx of children. It's a public school system. The curriculum is unknown at this time. That's what be some of the processes that the visioning and planning committee go through. So who are the players? The community is a major player or a major stakeholder in this because it's their schools. Superintendent Rawlings, the school board, Principal Potter, as well as those that are on the advisory committee. Now, with this decision by the advisory committee for Principal Potter to create this on her own, there are some possible damages that took place. First of all, it eliminates the community from having input, which I think is a major downfall, because community, especially with that rural community, there are certain values and things from that community that could be really important for this new middle school to reflect. As well as the school board and community and superintendent aren't really going to be consulted with this decision. It just kind of happened. They originally made this committee thinking that there would be a collective voice from this committee that would create this philosophy and vision statement. And what they're really getting is just Miss Potter's point of view, which again is not what it was created for. And it also, there's some damage there with Principal Potter, because it puts her in a bad position to start off this new principalship. She's having to create this on her own, and it may look like she doesn't trust the committee if she doesn't go along with them. So when I'm having to look at how can Miss Potter respond, I think there are some options that she can do in this situation. So the first one is take no action. She could just go with the committee's decision and create that vision and philosophy statement. The second one, I felt like she could review the guidelines and purpose of this advisory committee with the committee once more. The third one, appoint new committee members, people that are going to be willing to work and go through this process. Or the fourth one, she could create a community engagement night and seek other input outside of this committee. So when we're let's look at the pros and cons of each option here. The first one, just create the statement, creating no action, just doing what the advisory committee suggested. It gets the ball rolling, it appears like you're a team player. Hopefully that advisory committee would adjust some of those statements and provide their own input in that process, but that's not necessarily what's been communicated. The con part of this is that it's only Miss Potter's point of view that's going to be shared in that vision and mission statement from the get-go. It may not fit the community needs. It lacks input, and it could make Miss Potter a scapegoat, not only for her school, but for the community if things do not go well or doesn't match up with the values of that community. The second one, review committee guidelines and purpose with the committee. This communicates that this is a collaborative process. It asks for input from the team. It shows that Ms. Potter is going to lead what she believes. She's not just going to do what is suggested by the advisory committee if that's against what her beliefs are. It reinforces the guidelines of the committee, which they agreed to. So each member agreed to these guidelines beforehand. So it's going to look at those guidelines again and ask those committee members, are you really following those guidelines if you're going to make this decision? I think it gives Ms. Potter an opportunity to empower these committee members, because obviously they're not wanting to give input. And so I'm wondering what the reason is behind that. Do they not feel like they can because she's the principal? Do they not feel empowered, like they have a voice to do this? Is there something about the community where they don't share that type of information, or they don't have that type of vision since it's new for this middle school and they've never had a middle school before? I'm just curious where that comes from. As well as I think it could really focus on consensus. What is really true consensus when it comes down to it? The cons of this option are it looks like Ms. Potter's unwilling to lead alone. It could cause conflict with those committee members and hurt those relationships. And the committee may still not care to be involved with it even after she makes that decision. Number 3, appoint new committee members. Sometimes it's just easier to start over again. Excuse me. And with the people that she has, it doesn't sound like they really want to do the work of the visioning and mission process. And so this just makes it clear what her leadership style is and identifies the reason for the committee again. And it gets people that are willing to do that. The problems with this, it shows lack of trust in the committee's decision. It breaks those relationships right from the get-go, and the reputation around the community for starting something and immediately disbanding that and creating something else that fits her needs. The fourth one, create community engagement night. I think this is a good option too, because it seeks input from other community stakeholders. It educates Ms. Potter about what's going on in the community. It reduces that power of the advisory committee. But the cons are that when you get community engagement nights, you get lots of different opinions, and so it's really hard to bring those together. And so the insights that are provided, it just takes a lot of time and a lot of it just can be stretched across a wide spectrum, and so that could be really hard to bring together. It could hurt those relationships on the advisory committee if you're doing something that they don't feel is appropriate, and it brings decisions to public light. So when I had to really look at the best option and look at everything, I felt like sometimes we are too quick to make decisions, and we just need to wait. The professionals that have been selected for this committee by the superintendent, school board, and Principal Potter are those that they feel have really good skills, and they need to be a part of this committee. And so I felt like reviewing the committee guidelines with them and the purpose behind it is really important. Miss Potter, she didn't have to create this advisory committee. She could do it on her own if she wanted to create this vision and mission statement. However, she wanted community input. And so part of the guidelines for becoming a community member were this vision statement would reflect the collective values and beliefs of the committee members and hopefully the community. So that doesn't really reflect one of the bullet points for why you would be a member of this committee. And also, stakeholders would be given opportunities to suggest elements of the vision and to react to elements proposed by others. That's not really happening either. As well as ideal decisions that all find acceptable is what consensus was, so that even if one person did not feel that was acceptable, that is not ideal. Ideal is for everyone to agree or to at least be okay with the decision, and currently Ms. Potter's not okay with that. So this sets the stage where she can empower the community members to maybe have a voice, and it reinforces that she believes that everyone has a voice in her leadership style, as well as it sets the stage for those that are involved in the committee to step down, or for new members to come along that are willing to be a part and really work to get this done. So the implementation process, first of all, Principal Potter really has to prepare for this meeting and how she's going to go about that. So that she has to define the mission of the committee, the values behind the guidelines, and really emphasize it. And then she has to create a strategy for how she's going to speak to that at the meeting. I think she should probably talk with Helen privately. You know, and it says that Helen is willing to support Principal Potter right from the get-go, and so she wants to support her. And so I think it's really important that privately she has this conversation with Helen that, hey, I know you don't agree with me, but if you're going to be a supporter of me as this new school principal, this is what needs to happen, and really try to get her support from the get-go. With addressing conflict with the committee, you know, you review the mission of the committee, why I'm putting it together. I can do it on my own, but I'm asking for your help. Review the guidelines that I just kind of talked about there and why you agreed to be a committee member. Empower them, so you give them a ton of encouragement about their professionalism and why they were selected, because they were selected because they have an important voice that they need to share. And then really review consensus. Consensus is that everyone is okay with the decisions that we make. And currently, Ms. Potter is not okay with that. And so because of that, we really need to reevaluate this decision and create something else. I would allow for some discussion. Ask for buy-in or opt out of the committee. So if they don't want to be part of this process, they can get out of there and we can get someone else in, select new members if we need to, and then identify that collaborative method for how we're going to create that vision. The backup plan, I think it's imperative that the committee work together for this visioning process. And so if the current committee cannot do that, then a new committee will need to be appointed that understands the need to collaboratively develop a mission and vision. So ultimately, this is what we could end up doing, is coming down to create a new committee. But I think first, as leaders, sometimes we just got to put the brakes on things a little bit. Wait, these people have been selected for a reason. They obviously have some talents and they are really good professionals, or otherwise they wouldn't have been recommended. And so let's try to harness those skills. Let's try to empower them. Let's try to give them a voice. And let's really try to focus them on what Ms. Potter needs, because currently that's not what's happening with Ms. Burke leading the situation. And so I think that just slowing it down a little bit, reviewing things first, those guidelines, what they accepted to be, and going from there can be exactly what they need so they can get this ball rolling in a different direction for Ms. Potter.